recently. So I guess the first question would, of course, be, how's the last 2-3 weeks?
Do you know, they've been the best 2 or 3 weeks I've ever had in my life.
Obviously, people, I'm sure, have been asking you a lot about New Moon, and now a lot of people are finally seeing it. Is it nice to sort of be able to, like, sort of talk about it? Were you a little bit guarded with what you said, or, you know, in previous interviews, or because the book is available, you were very much like, you know, let's just talk?
Yeah, it's kind of nice because in all the interviews I've done, you know, I recently had the film Damned United out, and, you know, everyone wants to talk about New Moon. So it's quite nice to finally now be able to go, right, just get all the New Moon stuff out of your system. You know, it's just about that. So it's nice to be able to talk about that. And also, like, you know, I've done quite a few films recently that I can't really talk about, like Tron and Alice in Wonderland and all that. So so it's nice to finally be able to talk about one of them.
Oh, I'm very familiar with what you have coming up. We'll get into that in a second. I thought you were great in New Moon, and I think actually you were the one performance that I really thought was just really fucking good. You ate up those scenes. When you are acting, when you were acting with everyone in the scene, was it great for you to, like, be in this New Moon world? I just went off on a sidetrack, and I'm sorry, but
sure.
was it something that you really enjoyed, being a part of this thing and being with all these other, you know, like this whole phenomenon?
Well, it's for a number of reasons it was really enjoyable too. One, because, you know, a lot of the films I do, even though they get received well, and that's great, and critically, you know, well received, not that many people see them. You know, like, you know, a good enough number of people, but not that. This film, you know that it's like loads of people are going to see it, which is great. And I just really enjoy the character, you know, to be able to come into a world that's already set up, that people are familiar with, and that has an audience there, and then to be able to come in and play a character that's really kind of interesting and weird and creepy and unsettling. And it was great to be able to do that.
You've done, I'm going to use the term genre work before. How did your previous roles in this universe sort of help you prepare for this particular one?
Well, I suppose from doing the Underworld films and a couple of other things that I've done recently, you know, I've got used to the idea, or I enjoy the idea of playing characters where you can be a bit more imaginative and let things be a bit more creative in a way, and let your imagination run free a bit, and not to be inhibited about it, and to enjoy it. And I think that's a big part of it, is to, if you really enjoy doing it on screen, then people hopefully will enjoy watching it as well. So it helped in that respect.
What is the thing that I really admire about your work is that you're able to do these kind of genre films. You're able to do very serious work in really important films, yet you disappear in all these roles. So what is the secret that allows you to bounce around from these, you know, from completely polar opposite kind of performances?
Well, I suppose in a way it's not a secret really, but it's just I'm fortunate enough to be able to do films and characters that I really, really enjoy, and they're a challenge for me. So the more that I kind of throw myself into it, and the more committed I am to doing it, I guess the more I kind of disappear into it. So I've been fortunate. I haven't really had to do anything that I didn't want to do, or that I wasn't that into, and it was just for the money, or any of that kind of stuff. So you know, these are all things that I would love to go and see myself. I'm a huge fan of genre films and science fiction, fantasy, and all that kind of stuff, as well as the other kinds of stuff that I do, like Frost Nixon and the Queen.
I believe, I have not read the Twilight books, I'm one of the few. I believe you're in Eclipse, is that correct?
Not Eclipse, but the character is in Breaking Dawn, the last book.
Okay, there we go. So the question is, pardon me for being a little bit ignorant, have they told you, when you signed on, did you know you were going to possibly have to do the Breaking Dawn if they were to make it?
No, I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't make it, to be honest, but you know, I haven't heard anything yet, so there's no, I'm not tied into it. They don't have to have me. They might not want me at all. Who knows? So, you know, we'll see what happens with that.
Well, jumping in, I know we have to be a little bit delicate on the Tron talk and Alice in Wonderland, but what is it, you know, you have these huge movies coming up next year. Are you already looking forward to, do you mind the promotion that sort of goes with these kind of things, or are you sort of looking forward to being in these, like, really larger than life films?
I'm really looking forward to it, because they're the films that, you know, like Tron, for instance, the first Tron film, I was a huge fan of when I was a kid. I loved going to see it. It was a real event kind of thing. I think Tron, Alice in Wonderland, this, New Moon, they're all kind of event films and things that people are really excited about, really looking forward to. So I'm just really feeling lucky and grateful that I'm in any of this stuff.
I've spoken to a lot of actors who I consider to be great actors, and they still talk to me about having an acting coach and how they're always honing their craft. Are you someone like that that's still talking to an acting coach, or are you like, I got it?
No, I never feel like I got it. I feel like the thing that has helped me the most in a way is working on really good writing, working with other good actors and good directors. And, you know, if you're surrounded by people of quality, then it a little bit tends to rub off on you, hopefully. So I've been very lucky that I've got to work with amazing writing. You know, a lot of the work I've done with Peter Morgan, like Frost Nixon and the Queen and Damned United, you know, it's great writing. And I still do theatre stuff as well. So, I'm learning all the time from everything. I think the more work I do, the more I realize I still have to learn. And I think that's probably the quality that helps the most, to be a kind of a sponge about anything that's good around. Be like a magpie, just steal things that are around that will help.
I'm curious, when you're preparing for a real life person, say Dan United, or you're preparing for a New Moon, you have the written text. Tron, you're obviously creating your own thing. Alice in Wonderland, based on a very classic book. Could you talk about for you the differences that you prepared for, say, all these different, how you prepared for the roles and the differences for, say, Tron, Alice, and New Moon?
Well, when I'm playing real people, characters that are based on real people like Frost and Blair and people and Clough, obviously you go to their real lives and watch the footage and read about them and all that kind of stuff. So you've got a kind of a structure there already to work with. With something like Alice, playing the White Rabbit, or New Moon playing Arrow, or Tron, well, especially with New Moon, I guess, and Alice, there's already a kind of precedent there. There are other people, there's been other versions of the White Rabbit, so, I watch everything I can and watch all the other versions and see what I think, is essential about it. What is it that people would miss if it wasn't there? What is it that I can sort of play around with a little bit more and bring something different to? And the same with Arrow, in a way. Having played a werewolf for Lycan for many times, I've got to watch people playing vampires quite a bit, and I watch all the vampire films, and just to see what is the tradition that this is going to fit into. So you've got the books, Stephanie's books, and I read and reread everything that she writes about the character, just looking for little things that will help my imagination, and then look at how it's going to fit into everything else in terms of what's come before with vampires. And then I sort of let my imagination go as well, and I realized that there was something about the character that seemed on the surface very kind of soft and sort of sweet and warm, and I like that about it, the idea that he sort of thinks of himself as being very sentimental, and that he's just a sentimental old fool, but then he'll kill you, and he'll drink your blood, and he'll pull your head off. And I love that idea of someone who's got that kind of split in them, but thinks of themselves as being just, I'm just a sentimental old fool. So, I'm looking at things like that, and so I started thinking about characters in stuff that I watched when I was a kid growing up that had a big effect on me, like the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, or like the Blue Meanie in Yellow Submarine, like that, and especially the Blue Meanie's voice. It was this very soft voice, and the child catcher as well, kind of trying to lull children in to steal them and put them in a cage. So things like that, I tried to bring little bits of that into the character as well.
I definitely noticed that, and I really enjoyed in the performance your eye, the way you're just looking at people with the eyes and a little bit of a mischievous smile, if you will. I am curious, when was the first time after getting cast that you noticed really what the phenomenon was? Did you encounter the Twilight moms? You know what I mean?
The Twi moms.
The Twi moms. I mean, what was the first time that you realized, this is really a phenomenon?
Well, I suppose before I even got involved with the film, my daughter, I've got a 10-year-old daughter, and she's really obsessed with the books, loves them, and now her room is completely covered with pictures and posters, and of which I am one, I have to say, which is slightly strange. But so I knew about the sort of phenomenon of it through her. But then I thought it was just for kids, really. I suppose I thought it was young kids, because that was my daughter. She's 10. And then as I became a part of it all, I started to find that there were older kids then, say older teenagers, but then middle-aged women would kind of go, I read it, I really love it, and slowly it comes out. And then today, the driver that brought me here today, who was a middle-aged man, African-American in origin, not someone necessarily that I would have suspected would be a huge Twilight fan, and he went crazy in the car when I told him what I was coming here to do. He was like, "Oh man, that first film was fierce. Oh man, I am amped up for the second one." And I was like, "Whoa there." So this phenomenon really does kind of get out there. So I've become more and more aware of it as time has gone on.